Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Glad to meet you all here. My name is Ada. You can call me Ada. And I'm the Senior Academic Services Consultant from National Geographic Learning. And it is my privilege to be here. And thanks, HUFLIT, for invitation. So today, today's topic is from now to next, developing essential future-ready skills. So in this session, we're going to explore a very practical question. How can English teachers prepare students not just for exams, but for skills? So I would like to start from a very simple but powerful question. Why do today's students learn English? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about this question. So then I would like to show you the result of a research based on a Lingoda survey of 1,200 language learning students of different ages. So we can find that 16% of them thinks that learning English is a way to help them build their confidence. Well, 26% of them thinks that learning English help them move to a different country, especially English-spoken countries. And 27% of them thinks that learning English will help them in their jobs, in their careers, which means learning English can help them to get a better job, to get a better pay. But what are better jobs? So let's take a look here. So according to World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report conducted in 2025, over the next 5 years, the top largest growing jobs are salespersons, food processing and related trades workers, nursing professionals, teachers, social work and consulting professionals, and so forth. Well, other roles, other jobs are declining sharply. So in the next 5 years, some roles like cashiers, ticket clerks, material recording, security guards, and other administrative roles, they are declining. Okay, so it is no longer sufficient for today's students just to memorize information, just to understand the information, right? So students will need to be able to analyze the information. They need to evaluate, infer, while collaborating with other people to make decisions, to innovate, to find solutions, right? So, well, with the traditional roles are declining sharply and entirely new roles are emerging. So think about these roles: big data specialists, fintech engineers, AI and machine learning specialists, and so forth. So many of these careers barely existed a decade ago. So that is why Richard Riley, the former US Secretary of Education, said that we are currently preparing students for jobs and technologies that don't yet exist in order to solve problems that we don't even know are problems yet. So here is the challenge. How can we prepare students for jobs and technologies that don't yet exist? So, which means language instructions, language teaching must go beyond comprehension and memorization, right? Students need some more skills to succeed in today's world, to be future ready, right? Especially in the age of AI. Right? So what skills do today's students need to be future ready for the workplace? So you may have heard of these skills before, something like emotional intelligence, creativity, adaptability, communication skills, active learning skills, and etc. Right? So all of these skills are also mentioned in the reports conducted from different companies, like McKinsey & Company, like LinkedIn, World Economic Forum, and also the Forbes. So basically, National Geographic Learning analyzed over 40 reports from sources, and we identified the top 24 in-demand skills, and we put them into 4 different categories. So they are interpersonal skills. So we all know that interpersonal skills help you communicate with other people, help you work well with other people. And in the global workplace, interpersonal skills help you build positive relationships with other people from different countries, from different backgrounds, from different cultures. So some sub-skills can be some sub-skills like active listening, collaboration, empathy, interview skills, managing people, and negotiating are included in this category. And the second is digital literacies. So especially in the age of AI, digital literacies help you use digital tools, help you use online tools confidently and safely. So in this category, some of these sub-skills are included, like communicating online, data literacy, media literacy, and visual literacy. Because nowadays, students, they have access to a lot of information, so they need to evaluate what kind of information is fake, what kind of information is real, right? So that is why we need media literacy, we need visual literacy, and we need digital literacies. And the third category, thinking skills. So basically, thinking skills help you evaluate, help you analyze, and help you make good decisions, help you make responsible decisions. So some sub-skills like decision-making, critical thinking, creative thinking, visual thinking, problem solving, all of these sub-skills are included in this category. And the last one is self-management. So with self-management skills, you kind of stay organized. So you can manage yourself wisely. So something like adaptability, goal setting, managing stress, money management, resilience, and time management, all of these sub-skills are included in this category. So these 24 future-ready skills, they are not extra skills. So actually, we need to integrate these skills into our English curriculums, into our English instructions. So here is the big question. How can we integrate these future-ready skills into ELT, into English language teaching? So today, I would like to share 3 different ways integrating these skills in our own classrooms. So the first is to use thinking tools to develop future-ready skills. So there are a variety of thinking tools that you can choose from, like reverse thinking, 5 whys, using mind maps. So let me give you an example here. So by looking at this photo, I think it is a common way to show students, to present students with a topic-related photo like this, to introduce the topic, right? So, but instead of asking simple questions like, what do you see there? How many chimpanzees are there? And how is the woman feel? Or just read through the photo story. We can kind of ask more questions. We can ask some different types of questions to deepen students' thinking process. For example, we can ask students, like, where is the Lowiro Chimpanzee Sanctuary located? Why was the Lowiro Chimpanzee Sanctuary founded? So we can find this group of students, they are fact-checking questions. So this group of questions require students to find out the factual information about this sanctuary. And also, we can ask the students about their feelings. By looking at this photo, how do you feel? And how do you think the caregiver feel? How do you think the chimpanzees feel? So by asking these questions, there's no right or wrong answer. We just focus on students' feelings, right? And also, we can ask the students to focus on the positive side of the issue, like how does the sanctuary help chimpanzees survive? How does this care help the chimpanzees recover? So that students only focuses on the bright side of this issue. And also, on the other hand, we may ask students to think critically, to think deeply, to think about possible risks, to think about possible problems that the sanctuary might face, right? And also, after answering all of these questions, so we really expect students to come up with creative solutions to solve the problem, to solve the issue. So we can ask, what other actions should people take to care about chimpanzees? How can sanctuaries teach chimps wild lives? So students can either work independently or work in groups to come up with creative solutions based on the same issue. And also, we expect students to have a broader perspective on this issue. We expect students to keep the long-term goal in their mind. So we might ask students, what long-term goals should the sanctuary have? And how can we stop chimpanzee poaching overall? So we can find each group of questions marked with different colors, right? So these colors represent a particular type of thinking process, just like students put on different colors of hats. So this is a thinking tool called Sick Thinking Hats, described by Dr. De Bono. So Sick Thinking Hats thinking tool is not a new thinking tool, it's not a new approach. But I barely see teachers use this in English classrooms. So today I would like to share this because I really want to share this is a great tool that we can use to help students develop future-ready skills. So basically, 6 thinking hats. Each of these hats represent a particular type of thinking process. Like the wet hat mainly focus on the facts, focus on the factual information. And the red one focuses on the emotional thinking. So with the red hat on, students can express their personal feelings, all right? And also we can ask students to put on their green hat to come up with creative ideas, to come up with creative solutions. And as for the yellow and the black hat, so they're kind of a pair. So with the yellow hat on, students will need to think positively. With the black hat on, students think critically. Are there any possible risks or problems or challenges that they may face, that people may face? And also, we can ask students to put on the blue hat so that students will have a big picture thinking. Okay, so these are the guiding questions for these 6 particular type of thinking process. So I would like you to take a few seconds to read through all these guiding questions and try to match which questions, which group of questions do you think focus on the white, the factual information, and which group of questions focuses on the green, the creative process. So what is A? The blue, yes, right. So we kind of have a bigger picture, right? We kind of check if the students are on the right track to achieve their goal. And what about B? B is easy. Red, yes. And what about C? Good points. Positive features. Yeah, yellow. And what about D? Truth, facts, yeah, the white. And what about E? What is wrong with this? Yeah, the black, and the F is green. Yes. So how can we use the SIG thinking hats in our own classrooms? So later on, I'm going to give you some examples. So SIG thinking hats thinking tool is not just a thinking tool. So it provides an efficient way to develop students' critical thinking skills, to develop their creative thinking skills, and also future-ready skills. So we can find a close link between SIG thinking hats thinking tool and the future-ready skills framework we mentioned earlier, including interpersonal skills, self-management, thinking skills, and also digital literacies. So let's step a little bit first. How can we use this thinking tool to in our own classroom to help students, to facilitate students? So just now we've been looking at a photo, right, to introduce the topic. What about other language tasks? Can SIG thinking hats thinking tool applied to other language tasks? The answer is yes, absolutely, right? For example, in a describing technology vocabulary lesson, so first of all, we can ask the students to put on the white hat so that they can list the definitions, they can list the part of speech, collocations of the keywords with blue, all right? Because all of these information, they are fact-checking information, they are factual information. And then we can shift to the green hat so that students can create their own sentences with the keywords based on their personal experiences, so that we can imagine that each student can create a different sentence, right? And also then after that, we can ask the students to put on the blue hat so that they can group the keywords into categories and deliver a verbal summary. All right, so we don't have to use six hats in one lesson. So we can select some of them in one lesson. And the most important thing is that in the whole process, we kind of developing student thinking skills and interpersonal skills at the same time. So this is how we implement SIG thinking hats tool in a vocabulary lesson. Well, what about in this lesson? So the topic is describing an invention. This is a communication task, right? So first of all, we can group our students. And in one group, in each group, one of the students will need to put on their red hat. So this student will need to express their own personal feelings. And another student from this group, he is going to put on the yellow hat to list the advantages of these inventions. And the other one put on the black hat to list the possible problems of these new inventions. Well, there is another student put on the blue hat to summarize the information and present. So SIG thinking hat thinking tool can also applied in group discussion, can also be applied in group debate. And in the whole process, all of these categories of future-ready skills can be developed very well. And also in the viewing lessons, like this one, students will watch a video, so we can ask the guiding questions to guide students think critically, to think deeply. And also in the grammar lesson, we can use this thinking tool as well. And also in a writing lesson, so all of these different types of lessons, they are excellent opportunities for both teachers and students to practice future-ready skills together. So this is the first way, but SIG thinking hats thinking tool is not just the only one. All right, so that is just an example. We can use different types of thinking tools in our own classrooms. And the second one is to use future-ready skills as the focus of lessons. So it doesn't mean that we should only focus on future-ready skills in language teaching, in English language classrooms. So instead, we do need to integrate future-ready skills into English curriculum. So because we all know that language serves as a tool to communicate with other people, to express our own feelings, to express our own thoughts and ideas, right? To build connections with other people. So it is actually our responsibilities, teachers' responsibilities, to provide the students with sufficient opportunities to solve real and meaningful problems by using English. Okay, so that is the main point. And let's take a look at this lesson. So these are the 4 categories of future-ready skills in the framework. So which future-ready skill categories would this climbing-related lesson mainly focus on? Do you think the main focus is interpersonal skills, self-management, thinking skills, or digital literacies? Self-management, why do you think that? Okay, so let's take a look. Yeah, it is self-management because the topic of this lesson is goal setting. So in this lesson, students will learn about how to set a goal for their studies, how to set their life goals, all right? And what about this one? So in this scenario, we can find the customers and the sales person, they are discussing the digital devices in a shop. So which future-ready skills do you think would be the focus of this lesson? Digital literacies? It could be, but the main focus of this lesson is thinking skills. Okay, so because in this lesson, one of the objectives is to help students to make responsible and good decisions, okay? And the next one, what about this? We can see a woman chatting online. Definitely digital literacies, so let's check. It could be digital literacies, how to use the laptop, how to use your smartphones, right? But the interpersonal skills is the main focus because we kind of teach students how to communicate online, because communicating online and communicating offline is totally different, right? And what about this one? I think this is very common because we see this kind of commercial ads every day, right? So what is the focus of this lesson? Digital literacies. Yeah, it's all about media literacy. So let's take this lesson as an example to show you how to integrate these future-ready skills in one lesson. So to start the lesson, so we may show students this photo, and we can ask students to focus on the photo and ask some personalized questions. Like, look at this photo. Have you seen ads like this before? Yes, probably yes, right? It appears every day in our lives. And do you think they are effective for you? So some people may say, yes, they're very effective. Whenever I see this kind of ads, I really want to buy it, right? But some other people may think that it is not that effective for them. So they can discuss their answers with their partners. So this could be a warmer personalization. And after that, students will have opportunities to explore the ideas in a video. So we're gonna show students a video. Students will have opportunities to watch it. But before that, so we kind of give students to have a guess about the missing words. So with this, all of the missing words are the target words that we learned in this lesson. So we kind of balancing the language objectives and the future-ready skills objectives, future-ready skills goals. These two elements together, we kind of focus on language and the future-ready skills at the same time. So we ask students to take a guess Okay, so you can also take a guess. So we can find this is a cause and effect diagram about media literacy. So some people products based on claims that are misleading or false. So what could the missing word be? Buy, okay, and what about the effect? Waste. And the second cause, many of us tend to trust what we see or hear in the media, and the effect, we are not good at identifying what is right, okay? And the problem, many of us are not good at evaluating information from the media. The solution could be understanding now how the media works, ask questions and check facts. Okay, good guess. So now we're gonna watch this video together to explore this idea, okay? So you are gonna try to find the missing words while you are watching. No sound. Excuse me, no sound? No. All right, that's fine. I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to, okay. So should we start from the very beginning? Okay. Okay.
Every day, we read or hear about new health discoveries. Maybe it's a new drug that helps you lose weight, or a food that prevents cancer. But these claims may be misleading, or even false. When people buy products based on these claims, they often waste their valuable time and money. Many of us tend to trust what we see or hear in the news, on social media, or through ads. As a result, we're not good at identifying what is real. And there's some evidence for this. A study at Stanford University found that 96% of U.S. high school students could not accurately identify whether a piece of online information was true. And 2/3 couldn't tell the difference between a news article and an ad on a news website. In short, many of us aren't good at evaluating information from the media. How can we solve this problem? By developing media literacy skills. This means understanding how the media works, asking questions, and checking facts. If you are media literate, you have a much better understanding of what information to believe. This, in turn, can help you make better choices. For example, about what health products to buy.
All right, so did you get all the missing words through the video? So yes, the first one is buy, and the second, these people often, waste, and many of us tend to trust. We are not good at identifying what is real, yes. The solution of the problem is check facts and information to believe. Okay, so after watching this video, we can find out the answer together with the students. So students will have opportunities to explore their ideas. And then after that, we will provide students with a very different scenario, provide students with a different context. So they may listen to a podcast, they may listen to a radio program to analyze the context, to analyze the scenario, if how can these ideas applied in this scenario, in this context. So they're gonna analyze on their own, analyze the problem independently. And after that, students will have opportunities to reflect. So how can they use these skills, for example, the media literacy skills in their real life to help them solve problems? So this is kind of simple framework to help us build future-ready skills, to help our students build future-ready skills through daily learning. Okay, and the third one is to use authentic and relevant content, because we all know that the power of authenticity. Authentic and relevant content can spark students' curiosity, can arouse students' interests, can also engage students more. So I wonder how well you know the real world. So here are some statements. So can you have a guess? Like, in Venezuela, it is common to arrive at an event 15 to 20 minutes before or after it is scheduled to begin. After. And in, what about number 2? What is the most popular sport in 155 countries? And in Europe, 70% of online shoppers spend their time on clothes. In South Korea, the #1 dream job for high school students is to be idol. Oh, good guess. And the last, how many % of people aged 16 and over own a smartphone? 80. So let's check the answer. Do any of the answers surprise you? You guessed the first one correctly. So in that country, it is common to arrive at an event 15 to 20 minutes after it is scheduled to begin, right? So it is very surprising. So students may find it very interesting. So they may be very curious about the real world. So that is the power of using authentic, using relevant content. So all of these statements, they are not made up textbook resources. So they are real photos, they are real information, they are real cultural information about different countries in the globe, all right? So that's why learning experiences that connect to students' interest and provide students with some measure of choice and control can help boost their motivation and engagement and give them a chance to develop agency. Because motivation is one of the key elements in successful learning, in language learning. So, because we cannot force students to learn, right? What we can do is to motivate them, to encourage them. So we can, in our own classroom, so we can include all these topics like shopping, health, technology, hobby, and interests. So we may find that all of these topics are closely related to their daily life, are relevant to our students. So they may, students may find the content is very engaging. And apart from the themes and the content, so we can also include meaningful and authentic learning tasks, language tasks in the English curriculum, like interviewing people, and also like taking a survey, and also writing a social media post after the movie, after watching a TV show, and etc., right? So we can find all of these tasks, all of these scenarios are the ones that students will definitely encounter in their studies, in their future careers. And also the most important is that apart from the language goals we need to achieve through the lesson, so we can find the future-ready skills are clearly, explicitly signposted alongside. So that is how we balance these two types of goals together. Okay, and apart from that, there are a variety of authentic activity types that we can conduct in our own classrooms. For example, to develop students' interpersonal skills, we can have students to do interview tasks, to deliver presentations, to conduct a survey. And as for the thinking skills, we can ask them to do a lot of debates, asking questions, and keep writing journals. And self-management, so we can ask them to do self-reflection, to do self-assessment, and keep learning journals. And as for the digital literacy, we kind of encourage students to use online tools to create digital content, to practice data visualization. So that is how we can practice future-ready skills in our own classrooms. So to sum up, we can integrate future-ready skills by using thinking tools. So just like I mentioned, 6 thinking hats is just an example. So you can use this as a guide. There are a variety of thinking tools that you can use in your own classrooms to help students develop their thinking skills, to develop their communication skills, and etc. And also we can use future-ready skills as the focus of the lesson. All right, but it doesn't mean that it should be the only focus of the English lessons. So we kind of balance. And the third is to use authentic and relevant content in the English curriculums. All right. So before we finish, I would like to leave you with something very practical. So you can scan the QR code to download to get a copy of Future Ready Skills for the global workplace. So in this file, you may find more detailed information about Future Ready Skills and how to develop Future Ready Skills in practice. Okay. So thanks for your time and thanks for your listening, and hope you find it useful, and hope you find at least the one idea that you can take to your own classrooms. All right. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ada Hou, for your valuable and very practical sharing.